A very good afternoon. You're watching the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and here are the headlines. India doesn't wish to see further escalation. Sushma Swaraj briefs China on the Balakot airstrike, asserts Pakistan's inaction against Jaish-e-Mohammed that triggered the cross-border strike. Also raises Pulwama attack at the Russia-India-China meet in Wuhan. India would not remain passive witness to terrorism, asserts Vice President Venkaiah Naidu, urges global community to join India's concerted fight against terrorism, demands for effective international mandate against it. Prime Minister Narendra Modi confers the National Youth Parliament Awards, urges youth to develop communication skills for the betterment of society. Expresses concern over non-functioning of the upper house. Summit meeting between Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un on in Hanoi. Denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula on agenda. Both sides to review progress after their first meeting in Singapore last summer. And BCCI raises safety and security concerns during ICC's quarterly meeting. ICC assures BCCI to do everything to address India's security concerns during the upcoming World Cup. A day after India conducted airstrikes in Pakistan's Balakot, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj today said that the objective was to act against a terror camp and that India doesn't wish to see a further escalation of the situation. Addressing the foreign ministers of China and Russia at the Russia-India-China trilateral meeting in Wuhan, she said that India will continue to act with responsibility and restraint. Further, she said that the strike was not a military operation but was a preemptive action aimed at stopping further attacks by Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Government of India decided to take preemptive action. The largest and the target was selected in order to avoid civilian casualties. Excellencies, this was not a military operation. No military installations were targeted. The limited objective of the preemptive strike was to act decisively against the terrorist infrastructure of Jaish-e-Mohammed in order to preempt another terror attack in India. India does not wish to see further escalation of this situation. India will continue to act with responsibility and restraint.
In her opening remarks during her bilateral meeting with the Chinese counterpart Wang Yi, Sushma Swaraj also blamed Pakistan for its refusal to acknowledge and act against terror groups in its territory. During the meeting held on the sidelines of the Russia-India-China foreign ministers meeting, Sushma Swaraj also raised the Pulwama terror attack in which 40 CRPF soldiers were martyred. She also asked all the nations to show zero tolerance to terrorism.
We are aware of the recent dastardly terrorist attack on our security forces in Pulwama, Jammu and Kashmir, perpetrated by Jaish-e-Mohammed, a Pakistan-based and supported terrorist organization proscribed by the United Nations and other countries. We lost more than 40 personnel from our Central Reserve Police Force, while several others are injured seriously. Such dastardly terrorist attacks are a grim reminder for the need for all the countries to show zero tolerance to terrorism and take decisive actions against it.
And back home in India, the Indian Army destroyed 5 Pakistani posts along the line of control on Tuesday night in a befitting retaliation to firing from across the border, resulting in a number of casualties to the Pakistan troops along the line of control in Rajouri and Poonch districts. The Pakistan Army initiated unprovoked ceasefire violation by shelling with heavy caliber weaponry along the line of control. They were also seen firing mortars and missiles from civilian houses using villagers as human shields. And in the exchange of fire, 5 soldiers of the Indian Army suffered minor injuries. Meanwhile, an encounter broke out today between militants and security forces in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir. Security forces launched a cordon and search operation in Meem Mendar area of Shopian following information about the presence of militants here. The official said that the search operation turned into an encounter after the militants opened fire towards the security forces, who then retaliated. Pakistani troops also intensely shelled Indian posts in Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir. However, there were no reports of any casualties. And Home Minister Rajnath Singh today reviewed the security situation in the country, especially along the border with Pakistan. During the meeting, attended by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, among others, a detailed presentation was given about the security situation in the country and the steps taken to ensure peace in all sensitive areas. Singh also directed the officials to ensure the border security force, which guards the Indo-Pak border, continues to remain on highest level of alertness so that any misadventure from across the border could be foiled. Those who attended the meeting included Union Home Secretary Rajiv Gauba and Intelligence Bureau Director Rajiv Jain. And earlier, Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satya Malik also reviewed the prevailing law and order situation and the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir with senior officials following the Indian Air Force's strike against Jaish-e-Mohammed camp inside Pakistan. Malik directed all the forces to take effective measures to maintain public order across the state. And praising people for maintaining composure, he said that his administration is concerned about their welfare and, if necessary, it would communicate directly with them through radio, TV or other means. He also urged them not to believe in any rumors circulating online. The meeting was also attended by many senior administration and security officials. And Vice President Venkaiah Naidu today asserted that India would not remain passive witness to terrorism and the rising tide of senseless violence. Addressing the Quarterly Fellowship program in the national capital, the Vice President asserted that India was fully aware of the destructive tendencies and forces that tend to derail progress. He also urged the world community to join hands in India's concerted fight against terrorism and put in place an effective international mandate against it. Venkaiah Naidu also asked the world leaders to fast-track the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism proposed by India, which has been pending before the United Nations since 1996. Stressing India's earnest desire to foster peace everywhere, the Vice President said that being non-violent and peace-loving doesn't mean that we are weak or ignorant of the threats to our country, security and integrity.
We want peaceful coexistence. We believe peace is prerequisite for progress. Without peace, you cannot have progress. And if there is tension, you cannot have attention towards development. So peaceful world is the need of the hour, and every one of us should work in that direction. And India is fully committed to that. We are also fully aware of the disruptive, destructive tendencies and forces that tend to derail our progress. We are committed to combat these forces and has been fortunate to receive incredible, spontaneous support from a number of countries. We cannot be passive witness to terrorism and the rising tide of senseless violence. Terror is a menace to the humanity.
And hours after India conducted a preemptive strike in a terror training camp inside Pakistan, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres said that he is very closely following the situation between India and Pakistan. United Nations Chief has also appealed to the governments of both the nations to exercise maximum restraint in order to ensure that the situation does not deteriorate further. The international community, led by the US, pressed also Pakistan to deny safe haven to terror groups operating from its soil and bring the perpetrators of the Pulwama attack to justice. Meanwhile, China also said that it hoped that India and Pakistan will take measures to stabilize the regional situation. China reiterated that both Pakistan and India are important countries in South Asia, adding that maintaining good relations and communication between the two sides is conducive to regional peace and stability.
印度和巴基斯坦都是南亚地区的重要国家，那么双方保持一个良好的关系、良好的沟通，它是有利于南亚地区的和平稳定，从根本上也是符合印度和巴基斯坦双方的利益的。我们希望印巴双方 都能保持克制，能够采取有助于稳定地区局势、有助于改善相互关系的举动，而不是相反。
And in addition, France, UK and Australia have also supported India's preemptive strike on Pakistan terrorists. In an official statement, France acknowledged India's legitimacy to ensure its security against cross-border terrorism and also asked Pakistan to put an end to the operations of terrorist groups established on its territory. While Australia also asked Pakistan to take urgent and meaningful action against terrorist groups, including Jaish-e-Mohammed, operating from its soil. Meanwhile, the Election Commission is keeping a tab also on the developments in the country post the Pulwama terror attack and the government's response to it in the form of airstrikes. Election Commissioner said that the Election Commission is duty-bound to carry out the mandate given to it by the Constitution. The press meet was held hours after the Indian Air Force conducted airstrikes against terror camps in Pakistan. And the United States has firmly asked Pakistan to take meaningful action against terrorist groups operating from its soil. Also, it underscored the importance of avoiding escalation at any cost after India targeted the terrorist camp in Pakistan. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, in a phone call with the Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, also called for avoiding military action. In a separate call with External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, Pompeo emphasized the close security partnership between the US and India and the shared goal of maintaining peace and security in the region. On to some other news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the National Youth Parliament Festival 2019 and conferred awards to the final contestants in New Delhi today. Shweta Umre from Nagpur got the first prize, followed by Anjanakshi from Bengaluru and Mamata Kumar from Patna got the third prize.
2 लाख रुपए का पुरस्कार।
Addressing the event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the youth of the country should develop better communication skills for the betterment of the society. He also added that the youth should debate on issues which may or may not be impressive but must be inspiring. He said that the National Youth Parliament Festival provides a platform for better dialogue process. The Prime Minister also said that the productivity of the 16th Lok Sabha was 20% more than the 15th Lok Sabha. He also expressed concern over the non-functioning of Rajya Sabha, where productivity was only 8% in the last session.
देखिए 16वीं लोकसभा का उदाहरण देता हूं। एवरेज प्रोडक्टिविटी 85%, करीब करीब 205 बिल पास किए गए और 15वीं लोकसभा की तुलना में 16वीं लोकसभा ने 20% काम ज्यादा किया। लेकिन मैं इससे संतुष्ट नहीं हूं। अगर मोदी है तो फिर 20 से नहीं चलता है, 200 होना चाहिए। अब ये लोकसभा देश की जनता ने 30 साल के बाद एक पूर्ण बहुमत वाली सरकार चुन करके भेजा। उसका नतीजा है कि ये 20% भी प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ा पाए। देश के टैक्स पेयर के पैसों का सही उपयोग हुआ और समय रहते हुए देश के लिए जरूरी वहां नीति निर्धारण हुआ। मेरे सामने न्यू इंडिया की नई तस्वीर मैं देख रहा हूं। युवा नए आइडिया से, फ्रेशनेस से वो भरा हुआ होता है, ऊर्जा होती है, तेजस्विता होती है, शार्पनेस होती है, उस पर अतीत का बोझ नहीं होता। ऐसे में चुनौतियों और समस्याओं से निपटने में वो अधिक सक्षम होता है। साथियों, देश की, समाज की समस्याओं को सुलझाने के लिए आपकी जो अप्रोच है वो न्यू इंडिया को और मजबूत करने वाली है। जैसे आज का समय तेजी से बदल रहा है, वैसे ही आज की जनरेशन भी पहले की अपेक्षा कई गुना तेजी से सोचती है, काम कर रही है.
And on the occasion, the Prime Minister also launched the Khelo India app, which will provide all information related to sports in the country. In midday news, time for a very short break. I will be right back with more news.
The prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling, one of the first masters of short stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
A crucial meeting of the opposition parties will take place today to discuss the drafting of a common minimum program for a pre-poll alliance for the upcoming 2019 Lok Sabha elections. The opposition leaders who are set to attend the meeting include Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, NCP Chief Sharad Pawar, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, among others. All right, let's get all the updates. Our colleague Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from the national capital. Kriti, the opposition meeting is going to happen, which is reportedly for the common minimum program for the 2019 Lok Sabha polls. What are the sources telling you? What is the purpose behind this meeting and also the thinking behind the CMP, the common minimum program, and who all are attending this meeting?
Well, Aishwarya, earlier the meeting of the opposition parties was scheduled at 1 p.m., which has now been rescheduled at 2 p.m. So the opposition parties are expected to meet and chalk out common minimum program. Now, the decision to come up with common minimum program was taken in the February 13th meeting of the opposition parties. And parties like TMC, TDP, National Conference, Congress are expected to attend this meeting. Remember, there are chinks in the armor because it is not sure whether the left parties would attend the meeting because the left parties are of the opinion that focus should be on the state-specific alliances instead of national alliance. But the other opposition parties want to chalk out common minimum program to take on the BJP. Now, it will be absolutely interesting to see how the opposition recalibrates its strategy in the wake of the Pulwama attacks and specifically the way India struck back. Remember, because it was for the first time after the 1971 war that IAF fighter jets crossed borders and also pounded on the targets, displaying India's prowess, preparedness, reconnaissance, and more importantly, the political will. And of course, India has also been isolating Pakistan and upping the ante against Pakistan economically and diplomatically. So certainly this issue is expected to come up during the meeting along with the common minimum programs. This crucial meet of the opposition party would take in 30 minutes from now. Aishwarya?
And Kriti, speaking about this common minimum program, what is the thinking behind this idea? Is it only for the purpose of probably an arrangement in the eventuality of a hung house in the Lok Sabha elections, or is it something bigger than this?
Well, the opposition is trying to take on the BJP, and it is trying to stitch an alliance on the national level to take on the BJP and to oust the BJP, because we've seen after 2014 the kind of victories that the BJP registered in the state elections successively. So the opposition wants to come together, cobble up this alliance, rake up important issues so that it is able to take on the BJP. And of course, because these are divergent parties with divergent ideologies, so they have to come together to chalk out common minimum program and then chalk out their electoral strategy. So of course, the focus is to take on the incumbent government. Aishwarya?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kriti, for all those updates there. So opposition looking for an alliance or probably a common minimum program, or CMP as it is being called. And if the CMP is finally inked, it will possibly be the first such pre-poll declaration, because the common programs have traditionally been announced just ahead of the formation of the government. And on to some other news now. The Centre has submitted a report to the Supreme Court stating that no fresh incidents of violence against Kashmiris has been reported since 22nd of February. The Apex Court on 22nd of February had directed the Chief Secretaries and the DGPs of 11 states to take prompt and necessary action to prevent the incidents of alleged threat, social boycott and violence against Kashmiris following the Pulwama terror attack. The bench, headed by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, said that no further orders were required at this stage in view of the Centre's submissions, and also posted the PIL filed by a lawyer for further hearing after 2 weeks. The court asked the states which have not filed their responses to also do so within a week. And Vice President Venkaiah Naidu addressed the EPSI's International B Schools Leadership Conclave today. The theme of the conclave was Business Education for Futurizing Indian Business Schools. And speaking at the conclave, the Vice President said that India is standing at the cusp of a change in the field of business education. He said that India has a history of nearly 60 years of providing quality business education in the country, and more students should be encouraged to indulge in business schools. He also stressed on the need to remove academic disparity and said that it is very important for people to have a holistic idea of meeting challenges to remove academic disparity.
There are regional disparities. And then there are academic disparities. Not only in India. I go around the world and I see how they are all poverty-stricken, how there are academic disparities, all these problems. So we have to have a holistic idea of meeting these challenges. And moreover, unfortunately, another thing in our mindset of people is education means employment. Education is not for employment alone. Education is for enhancement of knowledge. Education is for enlightenment. Education is for empowerment. And then education is for employment also.
Sports news now. We have first the international news. The US President Donald Trump is in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, for the second summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The two leaders will have several rounds of discussions aimed at normalizing ties and complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Before this summit meet, Donald Trump had said that the talks may very well turn out to be very successful. He also thanked the Vietnamese government for hosting the talks. The talks come 8 months after the historic summit in Singapore in June last year, which was the first between a sitting US president and a North Korean leader. The denuclearization of the Korean peninsula and ending international sanctions against Pyongyang are expected to be the main items on agenda this time. And finally, sports news. The International Cricket Council, or the ICC, has assured the BCCI that it will do everything to address India's security concerns during the upcoming World Cup at its quarterly meeting in Dubai today. At the start of the Chief Executives Committee meeting, BCCI CEO Rahul Johri expressed India's concerns about the security of its players in the upcoming World Cup, scheduled to start from 30th of May, to which ICC CEO David Richardson assured the BCCI that the ICC will ensure that everything is done to address the concerns raised. The discussion on security was not a part of the original agenda, but on BCCI's insistence, it was minuted by the global body. However, at this point, the BCCI has taken no stand on boycotting Pakistan from the upcoming World Cup. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.